So students, I'm re-recording this video. Some problem occurred and the video just came out while I was explaining. So I have to repeat the class once more. So as we have done just now, what we saw that there are three types of polarization. You have linearly polarized light, okay, where the tip of the electric field vector, it moves in one direction. So the tip remains in one direction like this, okay, so that the direction is in one particular plane, and you call it linear plane polarized light. Okay, now for circularly polarized light, basically if you have the identification of the circularly polarized light is that the tip of the electric field vector would move around a circle, and the magnitude of this vector will be constant as it moves around. Okay, but how do you get it? You have to superpose two such linearly polarized light mutually perpendicular to one another. The result will be a circularly polarized light. So when the tip moves in the anti-clockwise direction, you have left circularly polarized light, and when the tip moves in the clockwise direction, you have right circularly polarized light. Now the other case is that you actually superpose two plane polarized light in mutually perpendicular direction. However, the magnitude of the vector of the electric field vector is not constant in all direction. In that case, the tip will actually go around an ellipse, and what you will have is an elliptically polarized light. Okay, so these are the three modes of polarization. Here also you will have left elliptically polarized, right elliptically polarized. So light has two kinds of polarization, and this you have learnt in your statistical physics, where you were deriving in Bose-Einstein statistics, in Fermi-Dirac statistics. Let's take Bose-Einstein statistics because we are talking of light, which is photons. When you were finding out the total number of cells, where you have actually divided the entire available volume of the phase space by h cube, you multiplied that available volume by 2. What was the available volume? It was 4 pi p squared dp in the momentum space, which you multiplied by v in the position space, divided by h cube, and that had to be multiplied by 2. It's because of these two modes of polarization. Okay, so these are the three types of polarization that you have. Apart from that, how do you produce polarized light? That is also very important. It comes as a question. There are four distinct methods of producing polarized light: polarization by reflection, polarization by refraction, polarization by scattering, and selective absorption. So when I say polarization by reflection, it means that if I have a crystal slab over here, okay, an unpolarized light incident on the slab reflects the light in a specific direction, and a portion of it gets refracted. This light which is reflected is highly polarized. Okay, around 85% of this light is polarized. Rest which passes through is partially polarized. Okay, so by reflection you can polarize your light, and Brewster made a very important observation. What is the observation? That if he has observed through experiment that if light is allowed to fall on a certain specific angle called the polarization angle, then the corresponding reflected light and the refracted light, if it makes an angle of 90 degrees with one another, this light has maximum percentage of polarization. Maximum polarization occurs, okay, of the reflected light when the reflected and the refracted light are at 90 degrees, and that occurs when the incident light falls at a specific angle theta p, which is called the angle of polarization. So that proof, well, if this is theta p, obviously this is also theta p, then theta p plus 90 plus r is 180 degrees, which we have over here. From here you can write r is equal to 90 minus theta p. Well, from Snell's law you can say sine theta p by sine r is equal to mu 2 by mu 1, where mu2 is the refractive index of the medium. Refractive index of the medium, and mu1 is the refractive index of the outer medium and this is the refractive index of the surrounding medium, mu1. Refractive index of surrounding medium. Okay, then in that case you can show that if your sine theta p, if you keep it as constant, then sine, from here it follows that sine of theta p by sine of, instead of r, from here you write, this is 180 na, so instead of r you write 90 minus theta p, sine of 90 degrees minus theta p. Okay, so that will be equal to mu2 by mu1. So this is cos theta p. So what you get over here is tan of theta p is equal to mu2 by mu1. Okay, tan of theta p is equal to mu2 by mu1. So so this equation shows that the polarizing angle depends on the refractive index of the reflecting surface, isn't it? So if tan of theta p is equal to mu2 by mu1, if mu1 is air, then it is 1, then the polarizing angle theta p depends on the refractive index of the reflecting surface. So this is the Brewster's law, and this was proved rigorously later from Maxwell's equation. And the polarizing angle theta p is also called Brewster's angle. We also call this Brewster's angle. Okay, now what are as an engineer, it becomes important for you to know the applications, isn't it? What are the applications of Brewster's law? What are the applications of Brewster's law? Well, Brewster's law, the applications of Brewster's law. Applications of Brewster's law. What are the applications? Well, Brewster's law can be used to determine the refractive index of opaque dielectric materials. Okay, the refractive index of opaque dielectric materials. All right. Number 2, well, one of the specific application of Brewster angle is the design of glass windows at the ends of helium neon laser gas tube. The windows are known as Brewster's windows over there. So, design of glass windows of helium neon laser tube. Okay, they are known as Brewster's windows. Okay, and they are arranged at Brewster's angle. So the light beam polarized in the parallel plane will pass back and forth between the mirrors without reflection losses at the windows. When you do laser, you will understand this better. Well, number 3, well, it is one can utilize Brewster's angle, the concept of Brewster's angle, for transmitting a light beam into or out of an optical fiber without reflection losses. So, concept of Brewster's angle, okay, is used for transmitting light beam, well, into and out of an optical fiber. Of an optical fiber without reflection losses. This is important, reflection losses. Okay, so you reduce reflection losses if you have that concept of Brewster's angle. Okay, so let us stop over here to do other modes of polarization.